What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. In a move that, is pretty surprising to me, man, considering the optics of it. Now, we all know that the Clippers have been struggling. I think they're like 5-16 or something like that. Just abysmal. But in a stunning overnight move, the Clippers announced that Chris Paul is no longer on the team. Paul, one of the greatest players in Clippers franchise history, posted an Instagram story a little before 3 a.m. last night that he had just learned he was being sent home to Los Angeles from Atlanta, where the Clippers play the Hawks on Wednesday. Shortly afterwards, Clippers president of basketball operations Lawrence Frank texted a statement to ESPN confirming that Paul is no longer on the team. He said, quote, "We are parting ways with Chris and he will no longer be with the team. We will work with him on the next step of his career." Chris is a legendary Clipper who has had a historic career. I want to make one thing very clear. No one is blaming Chris for our underperformance. I accept responsibility for the record we have right now. There are a lot of reasons why we've struggled. We're grateful for the impact Chris has made on the franchise. Now, to move on from Paul, the Clippers would have to waive him and pay out his $3.6 million salary, agree to a buyout, or look to trade him, which they couldn't execute until December the 15th. The Clippers have lost 14 of their past 16 games, including 5 straight, and have a 5-16 record, so I was correct on that one. They lost Bradley Beal, one of their biggest offseason signings, to a season-ending hip injury in early November. Paul had rejoined the Clippers in late July on a 1-year deal. For Paul, who is 40, this was a chance to return home and finish his career with the franchise he spent 6 seasons with from 2011 to 2017. It was just a few weeks ago that Chris Paul confirmed that he was retiring at the end of this season, his 21st in the league. Paul is the Clippers franchise leader in total assists and steals per game after he started 1,314 of 1,354 career games, including all 82 games last year for the Spurs. Paul's role was to come off the bench for the Clippers, understanding he might not play every night. He had played in 16 games, averaging 2.9 points and 3.3 assists in 14.3 minutes. And for his career, altogether, Chris Paul has scored 23,058 points, corralled 6,006 rebounds. He has dished out 12,552 assists, which is second all time to John Stockton. And he has had 2,728 steals, that also second to John Stockton. He has the most steals titles in NBA history at 6. At 6 feet tall and 175 pounds, he's a career 47% shooter, 37% three-point shooter, and an 87% foul shooter. And he's appeared in 1,370 games. So look, man, he's an all-time Hall of Famer in my book. That can't really be disputed. And at the end of the day, I think this is another bad move by the Clippers. I get that you're struggling. But Chris Paul was a physical embodiment and a recall to a better and a greater era of Clippers basketball. You know, Chris Paul came of age with the Clippers right after the Donald Sterling mess. You know what I mean? He came aboard right when, or right around the time, or I should say he started really excelling right around the time that Ballmer came in and his people. and you had Lob City, and that was an exciting time. Now, did they win a championship? No, but at the very least, they were competitive. Now, nobody was really going to compete with the Warriors, but at least Lob City was entertaining to watch. Uh, they came to play if they weren't hurt. That whole group, Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, it was exciting basketball. And considering the carousel that the Clippers have been as far as great players, nobody really wants to stay there. Chris Paul is one of the great players in the history of that franchise. He's up there with Bob McAdoo. He's right. Randy Smith. You got to go back to the Braves to find a longer tenured Clipper who might be greater than him. So yeah, I do think this is terrible. You waive one of the great players in the franchise's history. Now I don't know whether or I want to say waive. I think the right term is waive, right? Yeah. So at the end of the day, you send home one of the great players in your franchise's history. I don't know whether or not maybe, because I do know this about Chris Paul. The one thing I am starting to wonder now that I'm thinking about this, I know Chris Paul is the ultimate politician. I do wonder if maybe he's even requested to sit because he wants to be traded. Maybe he thought that when the season started, you got Kawhi Leonard, you got James Harden, you got Bradley Beal. This could be a contending team. Now that I'm thinking about it a little bit more, I'm wondering if they're basically sitting Chris Paul because he feel like maybe this is a waste of his time playing with this clusterfuck of a team. And maybe now that we're in December, you got 2 more weeks, right? Maybe they will trade him. Maybe they will trade him to a contender. Maybe. But I think if they do that, usually politics would say it would be a Eastern Conference team. I don't know. A lot of things be going on under the radar that we don't know about. But still, from an optics standpoint, when you got Bradley Beal out, and Bradley Beal to me is done as a basketball player. Don't even, Kawhi Leonard, he's a fraud. He's grossly underperformed. So, James Harden is playing, but you know what I'm saying? James Harden isn't the same James Harden that he was 5-6 years ago. He's putting up numbers, but he can't carry this team. So you waive Chris Paul. Like I said, just from the optics standpoint, it just makes the Clippers organization looks lackluster. You have no loyalty. People always talk about players and their loyalty to franchises, but this is the second time they've done this. Remember, they had Blake Griffin come back, and they traded him to the Pistons. So that's how I look at it, man. I'm hoping that they trade him because I don't want to see this guy's season end prematurely like this. I think Chris Paul deserves a little bit better than that. The way the league's been treating some of their veterans lately, man. Anyway, that's all I got to say about it. Tell me what you guys think.